views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Rise! Get yourselves together! Rise! Stand up and live your life! Rise! Get yourselves together! Rise! Hands up high!
Welcome to the Rise Above Show. I am Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini, and we want to thank Las Vegas Food Prep, a food prep company that is helping sponsor our show, and also Jay Young from City Athletic Club. They're also a partner and sponsor of the Rise Above Show. And we also want to mention that if you are looking for someone to help you advertise for your business, a service, a product, something that you need help getting out to the public, Joe and I are always looking for partners on the Rise Above Show, so contact me. You can reach me on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook. You can message me there, or Heidi Mancini on Facebook. I have my email is Camillio1, CAMILLIO, the number 1, at iCloud.com, and we can get together and talk about the packages that we offer for our partners.
Awesome.
And I also, before I want to mention to the beginning of the year, it's the beginning of the year, and I wanted to mention to everybody out there that Joseph is a personal trainer at City Athletic Club. So it's the beginning of the year, and a lot of people are thinking about fitness and health, and so you want to give him a call. He's Joseph Perroni, as you know, at City Athletic Club, personal trainer, and he also does therapy, marriage and family counseling. So he's also a counselor, so he has that going for him too. And then I wanted to mention that I'm a hairstylist at Body Spa West on West Charleston. I do hair extension work. I'm a master colorist. I do men's haircuts, women's hair, children. I'm working over there. And I also do personal training, wellness coaching at City Athletic Club. And then Joe and I co-host the Rise Above Show. This is our show together. So we kind of got our hands on a lot of different little avenues, but it was brought to my attention that a lot of people don't even know what we do. They think we just do a radio show.
Well, hopefully it's entertaining.
So, I said, no, we both have our careers that we do outside of the radio show. This is a way to get information out to the public and share information and share stories and make everybody's lives better, hopefully.
So before we get started today, we have to mention our new space that we have. I mean, no one else can tell, but this room is huge. There's like chairs and stuff around. We have even a little stage. So knowing us with the artisticness that we both kind of have, we're going to be we can
utilize these chairs. We can do like a little workshop inside the studio.
Did you show the stage yet? I didn't look.
We have a stage that we have couches that we can have like more intimate type interviews with our clients. And we also have the stage that John Stiles just showed you with the 3 chairs. We could do like a matchmaker show that's been asked of me several times. You and Joe should do a matchmaker show, a dating game.
Dating game? Perfect.
Yeah, so I said, okay,
musicians?
I don't know.
We have
our
a stage?
musicians, we have a stage, so we can invite our musicians in to maybe play you a little tune.
Maybe we could even play some music and have like an American bandstand type thing. I'm aging myself here, but we have got a dance floor. It's great. Yeah. We're going to make use of this.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, we can't let all this good stuff go to waste, right?
No.
Okay, so today I wanted to write a show about, are your beliefs actually based in reality? So I deal with a lot of things like most people do, like I watch the news, but that was just part of it. Over the last 2 weeks or so, I have spent probably more time than I wanted to over at Seven Hills in Monte Vista Mental Health Hospital. And I noticed when you talk to people and you're trying to help them to make them better, one of the things that's really stands in the way is the thought of what people think about themselves, their inner beliefs, their core beliefs. And no matter what you try to do to make them look outside of that, or to try to show them that there's a path outward, typically they're so locked in to thinking only one way. And they may think of like, I'm bad, I'm worthless, I can't do better, these types of things. And these beliefs are really not based in reality. it may have been somewhat of a reality many years ago. Maybe they had a parent that told them they weren't good enough, or they showed them in some way, shape, or form, or their environment made them believe that they weren't good enough. But years down the road, they still buy into this, and it's not a reality. And it's so difficult to get these people to think outside of that, that it's virtually impossible to change people when they're so locked in. Mm-hmm. So that was the first part, because I was so angry about the difficulty in trying to help people when it seems like from the outside that they don't actually want the help, or they're too afraid to step outside their own version of reality. So that was why I started to write this show. But then I had a bunch of other things fall into my lap. One of them was the Golden Globes, watching Oprah, and I want to talk about that for a little while too, because everybody just loved her speech for some reason. And if you really listen back to the speech, did she say anything that any 5-year-old wouldn't say? You know, like at the end, she got this big ovation, and she said something like, I want to live in a world where...
It's a propaganda-type interview. It's a propaganda-type speech that she made. She fed into what's already media that's going on about women being sexually harassed, sexually taken advantage of. And of course, it's the same crap they use when they do political stuff. They jump on the bandwagon, whatever the current rage is, and she so happens to be a female. She so happens to be a very rich female that has a big voice in our country. Mm-hmm. So this is the perfect time for her to jump on and make a statement that everybody says is so great, but it really didn't hold any water with me. And a lot of my girlfriends and my clients that are females, you know, I'm not really sure who the people are that really like her, but my general consensus is that a lot of people don't particularly care for her, and yet there's so many people that supposedly like her, so I don't quite...
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, and I agree with you. That's been my experience, that most of the people around me look at her as a very fake human being, a person who takes advantage of, you know, things that are popular. But you can't look past her success. She has billions, or at least she's worth $1 billion. But
this ties into the whole belief thing that we're going to talk about today, that you take somebody like her that makes a lot of money, makes a lot of, sometimes true, they're not totally, she doesn't lie to people. She basically says what people want to hear and repeats that information. And again, a belief is developed on being told the same thing over and over again, whether it be your parents, you know, trying to drill something into your head, and after a while you believe it. Mm-hmm. It's with anything, religious type things. There's a lot of where you're told the same things over and over again, and you let a charismatic person like her supposedly say something like that, and it holds a lot of clout because so many people trust her. Right. So the belief system ties into, you believe usually people that you trust, but that doesn't mean that people that you trust are always 100% honest, because their belief comes off of something that they basically believe in themselves, that they're pushing onto other people. And it's kind of like getting a following. If you can get the right amount of people or a certain amount of people to follow you. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of women in this country that, you know, want to totally annihilate the male species by saying that how awful they are. And, you know, I personally think that there's really good men out there, and I think there's probably some bad men, just like there's really good women out there and there's bad women. But, you know, we live in a culture that we want to constantly put the men down, and that is just another way for women to get a free pass all the time, because as long as we keep saying that men are bad, men are this, you know, compliments, if a guy says something to you nice, you know, right away, you know, that they're not allowed to say you're pretty anymore, they're not allowed to say nice outfit to you, nice hair, and they're going to be considered a sexual predator. So now we're going into a different society that, you know, it's not okay for any of us to say niceties or compliment, because we don't know whether or not we're going to be offending the opposite sex. And that holds true for me also. You know, I've always been kind of on the fence with that whole thing with the males too, that I'm cautious, you know, of how much I say or what I say. But, you know, we all like to be told when we look nice. We all want a compliment. That doesn't mean that every time we say that to a person, we want to sleep with them. And this whole Hollywood thing that came out, it's very evident that all these women knew about Weinstein. How do you say his last name?
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein. You know, that's a known thing in Hollywood. That's like no big surprise that, you know, if you got an interview with him or you were asked to do one of his movies or however capacity you were, if you were invited for a reason. And the reason was, you know, you'd have to sleep with the producer, him or whatever. And they call it the casting couch for a reason. It's been called that way back in the 1920s. They were doing this garbage. So this isn't anything that's, you know, new to us, but yet we're making it sound like, you know, oh my God, all of a sudden. No, this has been going on forever. And women, what I want to stop and say is that women that are really in the workforce, that are corporate women like myself, women that go out there every day and we're providing a service for people, that holds no water for us, because when it really happens to us, it doesn't really mean anything, because other women are making it, they're doing it. You slept with somebody to get ahead, now you're going to complain about it 20 years later. You're famous. Shut up. I mean, it kind of takes away the valid of the real victims. There's real victims out there.
As if Oprah didn't know.
And here's the other thing, Joe. You know, one of my clients said, do you get hit on? And I said, I get a compliment at least every day of my life, once, somewhere. I said, but here's the thing. I like it, I say thank you, and I walk away. However, there's been times that I've been talked to inappropriately, and I've said, you know what, now you've gone a little bit too far. And I do say it with a smile on my face, because I give them the option, in case they didn't know that. I don't want to embarrass them too bad, to let them know, you know, whatever, and to stop. I don't want to be talked to like that. And they either go, you know what, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean anything by it, or if they're an asshole, they'll be like, you get the F-bomb dropped on you and whatever else, but then you know, and but it doesn't go past that usually.
In every crowd.
It doesn't go past that usually, and unless the woman consents to having sex, unless the guy rapes her. These women in Hollywood were not raped.
But let me go back a second. There's so much I want to say here, but let me go to Oprah's speech again, right? Like, another thing that she did that pulls on everybody's emotional strings. She was talking about a lady from a long time ago that was raped by 6 white men. Right? She mentions that. Okay, so now she needed to say white men because the person who got raped was black.
But here's the thing, Joe. When you label people, I don't care what you say, white, black, Italian, Polish, Chinese, if you have to put a label on somebody before you say them, you're racist. So there's an underlying tone of racism when she says stuff,
Absolutely.
But yet she'll go around and say, I'm not racist, I'm this, I'm that. She always has to go back to her roots. Okay,
right.
And, okay, well, guess what? You're not that person anymore. You were one of the few black people that rose above, speak of the Rise Above show, that rose above, where she came from.
And you think I would like her, right?
Where she came from. But the fact is there's an underlying racism there. She didn't have to say 6 white guys. How many women, and I'm going to throw this out there, get raped by, I'm going to label it now, black men? That happens more times out of none, and I don't want to get in trouble for saying that, but, statistically speaking, a white woman could be equally on the same...
Right, but, okay, yeah, I mean, I get
or
what
a white guy, you get raped equally by 6 white guys.
But, but here's my point, and I like where you're going, but let me get to this part. Okay, so she has to mention the fact that it was a black lady she was talking about. So she's got to start using the race. Like, you can't just say person, right?
A woman was raped. A woman years ago was raped by 6 men.
She doesn't do that. She does the rape. Now, unless I'm living in some alternate universe, there is no debate that rape is a crime, a horrible thing that should be punishable to the maximum of whatever the law says. Why are we talking about that on the Golden Globes with people cheering her on like, yeah, you really said it? She said nothing. She never says anything.
She did what she did to get votes.
Let me just finish this point for a second. People are saying that she should be running for president for this awesome, insightful thing that she said. That, first of all, when you say that a person got raped by 6 people, nobody is for that. So she did not say a thing at all to make people... It's like
the whole victim mentality when women get sexually abused. I don't want to talk about that the whole show, but what makes it a real courageous person, or a person with, courage, if we want to say it that way, would be a woman that all those years ago, the producer said, honey, if you meet me here and do this, we all know how the language is, you're not stupid. You got to be a total retard not to know what somebody's saying and what the implication is there. That would have been the woman to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to sleep with you to get this role. I'm going to get this role on my own. And, you know, probably she wouldn't get it. The next girl that would sleep with him is the one that's getting it. But that would be the person that would be the one to step out and be saying something really courageous that would require a lot of clapping and a lot of, you know, people behind you. But unfortunately, nobody does that until...
Well, listen, Oprah was not one of them, though. Right? Like, she knew Harvey Weinstein. She was friends with Harvey Weinstein. She knew exactly how Hollywood works. She never said anything before. And so now for her to step up and say something really means absolutely nothing. And also, it's kind of the way she said it, too. She said, your biggest power is in telling your truth. And again, that is why I wanted to do the show today.
But your truth could be a lie.
That's my point. So is your belief, does it align you with reality? So when she says your power is in saying your truth, no, it's not, because everybody has a separate truth, a separate perception. That's not the truth. Power is in the truth, not your truth. There's a big difference, and that's why even politically we're fighting every day over things that some things are debatable for sure. But there's a lot of things that are not debatable.
Right. The truth of the matter is that rape is bad, period. Okay, then after that, it's like whatever happens after that truth or whatever that reality is however it affects you. You know, women on, you know, a woman that's been sexually abused, a woman that might have been raped, you know, whatever. A woman that's been has ever been violated can always have a little bit of a negative or a trust issue towards men. That's her belief because of an experience that she had. Or maybe a friend had it. Does it mean that all men, the truth of all men, is that all men are rapists in the waiting, like some of the feminists want to say? No. That means that you had a bad experience with a man, one man, out of a million men that are on this planet, and now your whole perception or your whole belief system is that men can't be trusted. And you live your whole life.
Right, and is that belief system, does that align you with reality?
No.
It doesn't. So beliefs really serve a few purposes. They either align you with reality, which is obviously, you know, what we want them to do if you're a fully functional human being, which we don't see that much anymore, especially in Hollywood, right? Or even in politics, you never see it too. They just constantly lie, or they'll say their belief is actually aligned with what? It's aligned with what we call tribalism. It's if you're a Republican, you're going to say that this is what you believe in. Now, the truth might be totally different than what's happening. But if you're a Republican, you will deny the truth. Vice versa, by the way. If you're a Democrat and you see something, you go like, well, I'm going to let that go because I'm a Democrat and I'm not supposed to believe that. So you don't. You hide. So that's two things that it does. So your belief either aligns you with reality, which would be a healthy thing, or it would align you with tribalism, your group, whatever group that you decide that you are part of. Now, if you're a part of the victim mentality or the learned helplessness group, you're going to keep saying that men are bad, all men, or all white men, they all suck. Yet, you know, none of this makes sense. It makes sense on an individual basis, but not a generalized basis. The other thing that beliefs do is that it aligns you, and this will tie back to the beginning of me going to mental health hospitals and having not as much success as I would like in helping people. People's belief align them with their own self-identity. In other words, if I feel like I'm a loser, how in the world can you help me? Even if you say you are, or you have a reputation of being very good at what you do, that means that there's more pressure on them to get better because you're good at what you do. So that makes them feel even more like a loser. So what they do is they align themselves with other people who are like them. Other people who get in trouble, who are in and out of jail, who are, you know, on and off drugs. They like that because it makes them feel comfortable. It's their family. It's their self-identity. So if you pull them out of that self-identity, they want to go back. I've seen many cases where you have people in jail and they want to go back to jail. They feel comfortable. It's the same thing with mental health hospitals. They feel comfortable there. You don't want to take them out and have to put them into a place where they have to be, you know, God forbid, responsible for every word and every thought and for every action, because they need to do things or else they'll get fired from a job or whatever it might be. So your beliefs typically are not really aligning you with reality. It's a distorted view of reality. And the other thing that made me think about this, And I just want to mention it because we had a really good conversation, me and my sister, the last couple of weeks. And it's really interesting. We actually had a good conversation about Donald Trump. And it's really interesting. Like, you can look at some of the things that people hear, and they hear it so much repeated that they believe it. But is it based off of reality and truth? So we had a good conversation about that. Like, one of the things is this. So we're going to have tax cuts mainly for rich people. What that's going to do is that's going to skyrocket the deficit, $1.5 trillion by most anybody, even nonpartisan people will tell you that. Okay, so when Obama was in office, and by the way, this is not a political speech, this is just a reality speech that I'm trying to do. For 8 years, I've been listening to the news, being pounded with, it doesn't matter how the stock market is. It doesn't matter that the economy is moving. It doesn't matter that unemployment is low. The debt is so incredibly high. There's no way we'll be able to do anything. Our children's children are going to have to pay for it. You're screwing the country over. 8 years of that. Okay? Donald Trump gets into office. He wants to have a tax cut for the rich, wants to raise the deficit $1.5 trillion, but now all the Republicans are good with it. I turn on Fox News on a regular basis because I like to hear all of the things. They don't mention that the debt is bad anymore. That's amazing. In the last year, we've totally forgot. So again, if you watch Fox News, is your belief that the debt doesn't mean anything? Now, I'm not an expert, right? Maybe the debt is this massive problem. Maybe it's not. I'm not going to say it is. I'm a personal trainer, and I'm a marriage and family therapist, and you're a hairdresser. So I'm not going to say I know more than an economist. But if you're of the belief that the debt was a massive problem before because you're a Republican, and now you don't believe it's a problem because you're a Republican, I'm going to tell you that you don't believe in anything other than your conservative or Republicanism. You don't have any thought about reality. What you have is tribalism. I need to be part of this crowd. You know, well,
or they need to protect their own. They need to protect their own agenda. You know, they're only concerned about their own pockets, you know, so to speak. And you know, what are you going to do about it? You know, he's in office right now.
That's true. I can speak truth. I can speak truth to power. And that's about it. Because one of the things is...
You know what I find funny, though? Is I hear during the day, you know, people that voted for Trump. And, you know, I have clients...
It's funny watching them back up.
I know, but I have clients that, like, I know who I could talk to and who I can't, you know, and who will say something, you know, who I can... They're the consequence. I know the consequence. If I don't agree with them, I'm going to probably lose my livelihood, so I'm very cautious. But I have other clients I can tease them about it, you know. And I go, so what do you think about Trump now? And, you know, and we have a conversation there. Everybody says the same thing. Well, I'm still hopeful. Hopeful for what? Like, what are you hopeful for? You voted this idiot into office, and now what are you hoping for? That he doesn't press the button on to blow up our country?
Yeah.
What are you hoping for? That he would for what? Because he's taking money. He's making the poor poorer, and the middle class. There is no more middle class. So.
Okay, that's true.
But they all say the same thing. Well, we're hopeful. Nobody says they have to admit you were wrong. I'm not looking for them to say, "Oh my God, that was an awful decision." But the point is they won't admit that. Yeah, we probably made a mistake putting him in office.
To me, it's okay. Things big or things small. When you're looking at another human being and you hear the words, I do this a lot with therapy. I have to listen, and it's really amazing because most people don't tell you the truth. And if they think they're telling you the truth, if you really press them on it, they don't know what they're talking about. And it's based off of, I want to align myself with so-and-so. And like the smallest thing in the world I looked up this week because I knew I had a hunch that these people were wrong. So I looked it up just for fun. For 8 years, again, I had to get pounded with, Obama spends so much money. He spends all his time on the golf course. He's the golfer in chief. You know, you hear all this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked it up. Do you know that he averaged 38 rounds of golf a year? Now, I've never golfed once, except for like on a mini, you know, those putt-putt things. So to me, 38 sounds like a lot. But if you're going to complain about the money he spends playing 38 rounds of golf a year, Donald Trump 79. Okay, that's more than double. So where are you now? Because if you were a truth teller and not some alternate reality human being or someone who's trying to align with a group, and you had any individuality, you would say that would be more than double. That would be wrong. He's spending taxpayer money for no reason. If I would have the greatest respect for a conservative.
Spending taxpayer money that's going into his pocket.
Yeah, you just took it up a notch, didn't you? And it's
Yeah,
true.
because-
And it's true.
He spent $93 million playing golf since he took office.
Wow.
And 90% of that money has gone to properties that he owns because they pay for the golf, they pay for all the golf carts, they have to pay for rooms for the
Executives.
Secret Service.
So
and
he
all-
literally gets paid for playing golf because it's on his course.
Of course.
Yeah. So, okay. People can't see you, man. You want to do that, do it in front of the screen, will you?
That's what I'm saying back
He's
here.
giving everybody the finger. But, okay, so that's a minor thing. Seems like a minor thing. But my point is that, listen, either you have virtue or you don't have virtue. You can't tell me 2 years ago that Obama's a piece of garbage because he plays golf all the time, and yet this guy's doing it twice as much. And again, I could care less. I'm not talking politics. My thing today is, do your beliefs align you with reality, or does it align you with your tribe? Because if it's aligning you with your tribe, there's something wrong with you. You're not a human being. You're going to live and die and never, ever find your authenticity, which is one of the big things of our show, is to be able to find your authenticity. And as I used to say on the radio shows, which I have been missing my saying, we challenge the herd mentality. Not herd as in here,
Herd.
in the herd.
Like it's in cattle.
So in order to be strong,
Sheep.
you need to be able to leave the herd. And if you can't distinguish the fact that 79 is higher than 38, you are among the herd. You are a sheep,
Stupid.
period. And, we could continue with this. Like, I had a fight on Facebook on purpose, by the way, because everybody's like, Donald Trump's amazing. Did you see? It's great. We added 2.1 million jobs to the economy this year. And I'm like, you know what? I'm very happy for that. Like somebody said, if you're on an airplane and you're rooting for the pilot to crash, you're rooting for yourself to die, right? Mm-hmm. So I want America to do well. I want Trump to do well. And 2.1 million jobs in the last year is excellent. It
But
is.
it's not as good as last year.
That's the point I was going to make. Because here's the thing. If you believe that 2.1 million is good, and it is, that's me, because my belief is stuck in reality. What happens is, yes, 2.1 million is good, but you know what? 2.2 million is better. And that's what Obama had on his last year when he was in office. Mm-hmm. So if you hated Obama because he was a job killer, which I saw almost every day on Fox News, the job killer. Really? Because that job killer was doing better than your guy now, who's the greatest president who ever lived, who added 2 million jobs. So what gives? It's the fact that people are, by definition, if you have a belief and the belief is not backed up by proof, you are delusional. So we're back to me at Monte Vista and Seven Hills again. Now, just for the record, I have to do assessments and things like this. I can't get too personal because I don't want, this confidentiality thing, and I don't want to get in trouble. But you do have to talk to people. You do have to assess. Of the people that I have assessed that were in mental health hospitals, not one of them has looked me in the eye and said that they were a really stable genius. Okay? And that's what Trump described himself as. Like, if you have somebody in front of you and you say, how are you? And you go, I'm a really stable genius.
Yeah.
There is something wrong with you. Okay? Now, that might be an opinion, but I would imagine that most therapists or psychologists would look and be like, oh my God. There's no way. The only time you would ever hear, I'm a really stable genius, is probably in a mental hospital. Like, I mean, seriously, nobody would say that. That is the oddest phrasing I've ever heard. So let's go even more, right? The unemployment is low. That's excellent. But again, if you think it's low now because of what Trump has done, the fact of the matter is, again, it's been trending down for 7 years. 7 years. And this is not an opinion. It's not a pie in the sky thought. What you can do is you can actually, oh my God, it's a fact. And facts don't have feelings. And feelings are not, they're not locked up with, I must be a conservative, so I have to deny everything that you do. Or I'm a liberal and I deny everything that you do. Whatever the case may be. You know, it's like, you know, how many things hit me this week that I want to combine all this? It's basic hypnotism is what it is. It's called injunctions. If you hear the same thing over and over and over again, here's how you make somebody believe something. The way to do it first is to make them hear it first. Because once you lock that in as their first thought on something, they have it. And then you repeat it over and over and over again. Here's a good Hitler quote for you. Slogans need to be repeated until every individual can grasp the idea. Think about that. Because his partner in crime was Joseph Goebbels, if I can pronounce that right. Joseph Goebbels, whatever. And his thing was tell the lie. Keep saying the lie until people believe it. Because if you hear it enough, you will start to think, okay, I'm going to believe that. And then what you do from there, it's a real, just a very slight jump to the next part. Once you believe it, now everything you see and hear is called confirmation bias. You're looking out for the thing to confirm what you think you believe that's not true. So here's an interesting thing. The more educated a person is, the more likely they are to believe in lies. Because once you put the lie in them through hypnosis, through injunctions, they buy it, and once they buy into that, they buy into the confirmation bias, now they're really good and really smart at confirming what they think they know is the truth. In other words, they will look, they read more. They'll look at things more. They're not going to like necessarily look at all of the literature. They'll look at one thing. I want to say 5 years ago in school, we were doing a lot of studying on cluster B personality disorders, one of which is narcissistic personality disorder. Now, if you were lazy and didn't go through the journal articles in the college, you know, in the college library, you would Google stuff, right? And people do that these days because it's quick, it's easy, and you can get some pretty good information. 5 years ago, if you looked up narcissistic personality disorder, you wouldn't be able to get any work done because all the top searches were related to Obama. Because all these conservative jerks on Fox News were putting it out there over and over and over again, repeatedly. In other words, in a hypnosis fashion, to do injunctions to human beings. Like if you didn't know what cluster B personality disorder is, which people don't, and you're on Fox News, and like all the people on Fox News, none of them are college graduates, by the way, and you tell your listeners, hey, guess what? This is narcissistic personality disorder. Obama has it because he lifts his chin when he speaks, and when he says something important, he doesn't say anything. He lets it sink into his audience. Well, that's called being good at, you know, being a good orator. It has nothing to do with being narcissistic. But if you look through all the search engines, all you would find is Obama narcissism, Obama narcissism. That's all you would find. You can't find logical, reasonable information anymore. Well, now you can, because somehow it's weeded its way out.
Down, yeah.
You know, maybe now we should put Oprah on there. You know, I'm kidding.
But at least he spoke in complete sentences.
That he did. And paragraphs and everything else, yeah. Do you want to take a little break?
Sure.
So we can
Let's take a little
regroup?
regrouping.
So we'll be right back after this message.
Retrospecs is a purveyor, if you will, of historical eyewear. Retrospecs is located on the second floor, right across from the chandelier bar. So when you look at our store from the outside, it looks like there isn't much going on in here. And then you open the drawers. We actually carry authentic pieces from the late 1890s to the 1990s. We have almost 3,000 pieces in here. It's like a treasure trove reveal. We do have a collection of new glasses that we have reproduced ourselves. It's called the Cuthbert and Chen collection. The safe is our jewel. It's our baby. We love it. It's from 1903. It weighs as much as a car. It's solid steel. We use the safe to hold our most precious pieces, our museum collection, if you will. People come in to find glasses that are not something they're going to find everywhere else, not something all their friends are wearing, and something that they can tell that story. We sell stories as much as we sell glasses. We have pieces that we can associate with very famous people from history, movies, special events that happened in the past. And some of the favorites are the Ray-Ban shooter that Johnny Depp wore in Fear and Loathing of Las Vegas, the beautiful frame France Parisian plastic aviator worn by Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. Retrospecs is not just about glasses, it's about the experience, it's about how these glasses make you feel. We are a full-service optical shop, somewhere where guests can come to get repairs, restoration, can put their prescription in, can get them a quick pair of sunglasses for the pool, and can give them a really great, just fun experience.
Welcome back to the Rise Above Show. I'm Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
And today we're talking about, are your beliefs aligned with reality? Most people's are not. They're aligned with their tribalism. Like, what group are you a part of? What political party are you a part of? What nationality maybe? Maybe your gender, something like that. So I thought maybe we can run through some questions here to see maybe what's true and what's not.
Okay.
I wanted to do some really easy ones first, and then maybe let's get into something a little more difficult that we have not worked out together. So I could see maybe if you want to follow reality, or if I want to follow reality,
Okay.
or we want to just go off into our separate, our separate groups instead. So I thought that might be fun to do that
Okay.
live. All right, true or false? We only use 10% of our brains.
True.
Absolutely false.
What?
You know why you believe that? Because
Why?
you heard it first. And then it was repeated over and over and over again. And it's used in comedies. Like, we only use 10% of our brain. If we could all use 10% of our heart, wouldn't you love me more? It's like, oh, God.
Oh.
Just, so it's not true. Here's another one. We lose most of our body heat from our head. True or false?
No.
False.
I said false.
Again,
And I almost said true because what I was told was if you wear a hat, it will keep all the heat in so you won't be as cold.
Right,
but I
to your
said
head.
false because I was like, okay, that's probably some bullshit I heard somewhere.
Hot hair rises.
Yeah, hot hair rises, yeah. Okay.
False.
False.
Okay, number 3. Cracking your knuckles gives you arthritis. You got a false? What else?
False.
Absolutely false. Arthritis is a blood
It's a blood
disease.
disorder.
Yeah, they don't sit there and check your knuckles to see if you have arthritis. They do a blood test
test
on
your
you.
blood.
So why we believe that is because you heard it first when
You
you were a
heard it
kid.
first
You
on
know what it was? Because
Oprah.
your parents did this. When they were like, stop cracking your knuckles. That's it.
My parents didn't say I'd get
do you
arthritis.
believe that?
They said that we would get, I'd get big hands. My dad would say, if you keep cracking your knuckles, you're going to get big
Because they
knuckles.
were trying to scare you because
Like
it
a
was
guy,
annoying,
and I'm
right?
like,
It was
I don't care.
annoying that you were cracking your knuckles, so they did. Like,
Wait. Does that mean that if you step on a crack, you won't break your mother's back?
Yeah, that's another
That
one.
would be false. Do you think masturbation makes you blind?
No, but I heard that too.
Well-
You're going to go blind if you play with yourself all the time.
Well, can you play with yourself just long enough so you need glasses then?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, well, that's like false. Okay. Swallowing chewing gum stays in your body for 7 years.
No, false.
We've heard that to be true. That's absolutely false. Is there a significant relationship between fats and heart disease? I didn't word that right. Is there a negative correlation between fat and heart disease?
You mean, does fat cause heart disease?
Let's say that. Yeah, there you go.
A major contributing factor.
Yes, let's say that.
True.
False.
False. You better know this. You're a trainer. No, it's
the
the sugar. It's the processed foods. It's none of that's true. Okay, and that's when they say too that high protein diets are very difficult on the body. Not really. What it is it's funny because they'll say a high protein diet also is it makes you gain weight or gain fat, I should say. Yeah, because there's a big difference between lean chicken and lean turkey compared to like sausage. Yeah. Like if you're a bodybuilder, you're not eating sausage. You're not eating the garbage kind of protein that has a lot of fat. So that makes no sense. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Let's see if we can do this. Listen close now. We got 10 minutes to go. You ready?
Yeah.
Do you believe? Now, let's see if you believe or your belief is based on your tribalism, your self-identity, or is it based on fact? You ready?
Okay.
Do you believe that women athletes should get paid the same amount as men athletes?
Yes, I do.
Okay. But now you have to back it up. You have to tell me why.
I believe that if women are in the same sport that a man is in, she should be paid the same amount of money for that if she's a pro athlete or whatever she is.
Right.
And depending on what their pay scale is, depending on their position in that sport, that's what they should be paid.
Right. And a lot of women believe what you believe. A lot of men don't believe what you believe. So let's start with that for a second, then move to the next part real slow. And I just want to follow like a flow chart. I do this at home when I write the show. Okay, so the next part comes up to, because most men don't believe that, and a lot of women do believe that, does that make a man sexist if I don't believe what you believe?
No.
Good. Excellent. I mean, it could be any answer you want. But that's a good answer because then you can have a conversation. Because if you just go,
then I would
screw
ask,
it, you're a sexist,
right,
there's no
But
conversation.
then you could further that on to say to the man, well, but why do you feel that way? That if now we've discussed this in the past, that you're not going to have, if you're going to have women playing men on the football field, that's not
That'll
equality, okay? And but when you're talking, we're in a culture now that things are not going to be gender specific anymore. A woman does this, a man does this, men do this, women do that. Yes, I totally agree that it's no different with it's no different with hairdressing or anything else. A male hairdresser should be allowed to get the same amount of money per haircut that I get.
Well, okay. I
Vice
hear
versa.
okay, no, I hear what you're saying. So let me drop some reality now.
Okay.
Here's the reality. Athletes don't get paid based on what they're doing. They get paid based on partly of what they're doing, of course, but they're getting paid by how much money they can bring in. So let's just take bodybuilding, for example. We'll use that because a lot of people listen to the show are into fitness. When the men's Mr. Olympia is in town, it sells out the Orleans, which is about, let's round off, 10,000 people. Tickets are between 50 on the low side, 200 to 300 on the high side. So that's a lot of money. So when they start giving out money for the place winners, they've earned it because the people running the show have millions of dollars now because they brought in for these athletes. And so because they have this huge pot of money, they can give out money. Where's the money for the women's bodybuilders? Who pays them?
Who promotes it?
Whoever the promoter is.
Right. So, no, that's an answer. So, but here it is. The pot of money that the promoter can give out to the women's bodybuilders, where does it come from?
The people.
It would be the paying customers.
Yeah.
So at $200 a ticket, and you sell out a 10,000 seat arena for the men's bodybuilders, there's a ton of money to pay out. Now, I'm not being male or female, I'm just being honest. Like, so that's a ton of money. How much money do the female bodybuilders bring in? In other words, not them, but who pays to see the female bodybuilders, and how much do they pay?
They don't pay a lot.
They pay nothing. Because what happens is that they have the expo where they mostly give out supplements. And so what happens is, as part of the show, that you get your money to go in to see the supplements, at the very corner of the convention center, they'll have a women's bodybuilding show where you could sit down and watch, but it's free. So there's no money. So even if I was the greatest man on the face of the planet who wanted to do amazingly great things for women, the fact of the matter is that you can have a women's show and say, yes, for sure, women work just as hard or harder than men. As a matter of fact, in bodybuilding, I'm going to tell you that women work a lot harder, because it's a lot harder for them to get lean, and they give up a lot more in their life than a man ever will. Mm-hmm. And there's no doubt, and they have my respect, my honor, everything you want to name. What they don't have is my money.
Right. Well, that's because
there's no money to give.
I think that's a question that should have been asked. I think that, not that women shouldn't be paid the same, but if they were given the same opportunity per dollar, because I know women in the gym that can out-train a man any day of the week. But the reality is that they're not going to get compensated the same way, because a lot of people, women, don't want to see other women bodybuilders, and men get turned off by it too.
And that's the crux of the argument, is that when women say that women in sports, just sports, mind you, I'm not talking about other jobs, but just in sports, because that's just this conversation. How can a woman make as much money as a man when there's not enough money to give? Because very few people want to watch a woman. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. It's like, if you want to watch the NBA, the National Basketball Association, the men, best athletes in the world for what they do you want to see a female version of that? You can, but the men will sell out Madison Square Garden. The women will sell out nothing. Well, they can't sell out a community center.
Right, but I think a lot of that comes down to the same thing. It's like women when it comes down to the end of the day, they don't necessarily support each other. And the men, a lot of times, they tried to get that lingerie football thing going out here a few years ago down at the Orleans. And I'm sure one of the reasons it didn't make it was because of what you just said. Not that those girls were not good athletes and they couldn't play football, but the fact of the matter is that women didn't want to go see it because they're not going to pay for that. And a lot of men, it might be a cool thing, but then the novelty, it's like, okay, I saw it, now I want to see a bunch of guys, rough each other up.
The interesting thing is that women complained about it, then they don't want it, so the league kind of just falls down. But interestingly enough, the women who played wanted to play. Nobody was forcing them to play. So by women looking at other women complaining, what they did was they made all those women unemployed. It doesn't help. So let's take it the other way. We have, I don't know, Victoria's Secrets, whatever it's called. They have the catwalk with these women models. Okay, should a man model get paid as much as a woman?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You know why? Because a woman model makes thousands, if not millions of dollars for their company. Nobody cares about male models. So, again, if a male model brings in $10,000, how much is he entitled to? $1,000? Okay, fair enough. But if a woman brings in $10 million, like Giselle, right? She does something, and she brings in a company $50 million. How much is she entitled to? $2, $3, $4 million? A man will never get that. And so that's where the reality thing is. So I want to base my belief off of, I'm not sexist, I love women, but my belief here is based on reality. It's not based upon the fact that I'm a man. And most women, when they say that women should get paid the same in sports, maybe you have to line up the sport, maybe in tennis or maybe in something, but certainly not.
But overall. I think where the pay differential comes into a lot of issues, I don't know if it's so much the sports, but it's in the corporate
and that's
arena.
John's giving me the sign.
It's time to go.
So we'll talk about that, but that's another great issue. But I think we'll have to leave. But okay, so what I want to finish with real quick is this. Basically, the show today is about, are your beliefs aligned with reality? And if they're not, they really should be. If your beliefs are aligned with your tribe or your gender or your race, you need to start looking at yourself, because that's not really the way you would want to go through life. You want to be authentically you. And if you're making decisions based upon being part of a group, you're not really living your life. So it's time to start thinking as an individual and challenging the herd mentality. So this has been the Rise Above show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.